Have you ever let someone pray over you, hands resting on your shoulders or your head, and walked away feeling not lighter, but strangely heavier, like something was taken instead of given? Maybe you couldn't explain it at the time. The words sounded right. The setting felt sincere, but something in you tensed up the moment their hands touched you, and that tension didn't fully leave for hours, sometimes days. Or maybe nothing felt wrong in the moment at all. It was only later, replaying it, that you realized you'd never actually felt peace afterward, only relief that it was over. Maybe you've even told yourself it was just you being too sensitive, too guarded, not faithful enough to simply receive it. Here's what most believers are never taught. Not every hand laid on you in prayer is carrying the same spirit behind it. The posture can look identical: bowed head, raised voice, closed eyes, and still be coming from two completely different places. A hand can be offered in genuine intercession, or it can be offered out of control, performance, manipulation, or something the person praying may not even be fully aware of themselves. The outward form rarely tells you which one you're standing in front of. It's not that you're being paranoid, and it's not that you don't trust God. It's that discernment was always supposed to be part of prayer, not separate from it. And almost no one teaches you what to actually watch for before you let someone's hands rest on you. Most of us were taught to never refuse prayer, but never taught how to recognize when something is genuinely off, so the discomfort gets swallowed instead of examined. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly 5 people you must never let lay hands on you in prayer, so you can protect your spirit even in moments that are supposed to feel sacred. None of these 5 are about judging someone's salvation or assuming the worst about every person who prays for you. They're about learning to notice specific patterns before you let someone physically pray over you. Let's start with the one that's easiest to overlook, and move toward the one that's hardest to walk away from once you're already in it. The first person you must never let lay hands on you in prayer is someone who insists on it the moment they sense any hesitation from you. This often shows up as a kind of quiet pressure. You pause, even briefly, and instead of respecting that pause, they move closer or repeat the request more firmly, as if your hesitation itself is the problem that needs fixing. The message, even if never said outright, is that your discomfort is the obstacle standing between you and God, rather than something worth listening to. There's a long biblical pattern around willing participation in prayer and worship. Nothing forced, nothing coerced, freely offered or not given at all. A hand laid on you against your comfort, even gently, even with good intentions, starts to work against that pattern the moment your hesitation is treated as an obstacle rather than information. Pressure and prayer were never meant to travel together. Practically, this might look like someone at the front of a prayer line saying, "Just trust me," the second you step back slightly, or a relative at a family gathering reaching for your shoulders before you've actually said yes, treating your silence as agreement. It can also look like a leader continuing to reach toward you even after you've quietly shaken your head. A short reflection. Notice that your hesitation is not a lack of faith, it's information. You're allowed to say, "I'd rather just pray quietly," without needing to justify it further. And a safe person will simply accept that without pushing, without sulking, and without trying again 5 minutes later. But the next one is harder to catch, because it usually comes wrapped in confidence. The second person you must never let lay hands on you in prayer is someone who uses the moment to publicly name your private struggles you never told them. This is different from a genuinely prophetic word, which tends to feel confirming rather than exposing. What we're talking about here is someone who, hands already on you, starts speaking specific personal details out loud. Your finances, your marriage, your health, details that could have come from observation or gossip just as easily as from God, but are framed as if only God could know them. The accuracy itself is not the proof people assume it to be. There's a clear biblical caution around testing what's spoken in God's name rather than accepting it automatically just because it's said with confidence and your hands are already under someone else's. A genuine word doesn't need an audience to validate it, and it doesn't need your body held in place while it's delivered. Practically, this might look like someone praying loudly over you in a group setting, naming a struggle you've only ever mentioned to 1 or 2 people, in a tone that draws attention rather than offering it privately and gently afterward. It can also look like details surfacing that you only ever shared in a small prayer request group, now repeated back to you as if revealed. A short reflection. Ask yourself, does this feel like being seen and cared for? Or does it feel like being put on display? Genuine discernment rarely needs a stage, and it almost never needs your shoulders held down while it performs for the people watching. If you've ever felt exposed rather than ministered to during a prayer like this, the next person will be even easier to recognize. The third person you must never let lay hands on you in prayer is someone who turns prayer into a moment of physical control rather than spiritual covering. This one is harder to name because it often hides inside normal-looking gestures. A hand that grips rather than rests, pressure on your forehead or chest that pushes you backward, or being held in place even after you've tried to step back or stand up. The physical sensation itself is often the clearest signal, even before your mind catches up to what's happening. There's an important biblical distinction between covering someone in prayer and overpowering them physically. True spiritual authority was never meant to require physical force to be effective. If a prayer needs your body controlled or restrained to work, that's no longer simply prayer. It's something else wearing prayer's clothing. Practically, this might look like someone pressing firmly enough that you feel unsteady on your feet, someone catching you as you're falling before you've actually started to fall, or someone keeping a tight grip on your shoulders even as your own posture says you're ready to step away. It can also look like a second person positioned behind you, ready to catch you before anything has actually happened. A short reflection. Your body's instinct to move back or stand up straighter during prayer is not rebellion against God. It's worth paying attention to. Genuine prayer can hold space for you without needing to hold you down, physically or otherwise. If you've ever left a prayer line feeling physically tense instead of spiritually at peace, the next person explains a quieter version of the same problem. The fourth person you must never let lay hands on you in prayer is someone who only ever offers to pray over you when something can be gained from the interaction afterward. This pattern is easy to miss because the prayer itself can sound completely sincere in the moment. It's the timing and the pattern around it that reveals something different. The offer tends to appear right before a request for money, right after a disagreement they want smoothed over, or right alongside an invitation to commit to something you hadn't actually agreed to yet. There's a clear biblical warning about people who treat ministry, prayer, or spiritual gifting as a means of personal gain. The warning isn't about every gift or offering, but about a pattern where prayer consistently precedes a request rather than simply being its own complete act. When prayer becomes a setup for what comes next, it's no longer functioning as prayer, it's functioning as leverage, even if the person praying would never describe it that way themselves. Practically, this might look like a leader who only lays hands on you the week you're considering leaving a group, a mentor who prays over you right before asking for a seed donation, or a friend who prays for your relationship the same day they ask to borrow money. It can also look like a sudden, intense prayer session right before being asked to sign up for something significant. A short reflection. Ask yourself honestly, has this person ever prayed over me without anything following it afterward? If you can't remember a single time, that pattern itself is the answer, not any one isolated prayer. And noticing it isn't cynicism, it's simply paying attention. This last one is the hardest to walk away from, because by the time you notice it, you're often already standing in the middle of it. The fifth and hardest person to walk away from is someone you've already let lay hands on you many times before, where the pattern has had years to feel completely normal. This one is the hardest to admit, because it's rarely a stranger. It's usually someone close, a longtime pastor, a family member, a mentor you've trusted for years, and the very familiarity that once felt like safety is what now makes it nearly impossible to question. By the time any of the earlier four patterns show up with this person, you've often already built years of trust that makes you doubt your own discomfort instead of theirs. There's a sobering biblical reality that even people genuinely used by God in the past can drift, and past fruit is not a lifetime guarantee of present safety. Discernment has to be renewed continually, not granted once and left unchecked forever. Familiarity was never meant to replace ongoing discernment. It was only ever meant to make trust easier to build, not impossible to question. Practically, this might look like a pastor who laid hands on you in a way that always felt right for years, until something subtly shifted and you told yourself you must be misreading it because of how much you trust him. It can also look like a parent or mentor whose prayers once felt entirely safe, where you now feel a flicker of unease you immediately suppress, simply because questioning them feels like betrayal, or like accusing someone you genuinely love of something you can't even fully name. A short reflection. Ask yourself, if a stranger did exactly this same thing, would I feel uneasy? If the honest answer is yes, the years of history don't cancel that discomfort out. They just make it harder to see clearly, which is exactly why this one deserves the most attention, not the least. Let's close with a short prayer. God, thank you for the gift of prayer and for every hand that has ever truly carried your peace toward me. Give me discernment, not suspicion, the kind that protects without hardening my heart toward genuine people. Help me notice pressure disguised as urgency, exposure disguised as prophecy, control disguised as covering, and timing disguised as coincidence. And when the person in question is someone I've trusted for years, give me the courage to still ask the question honestly, rather than silencing it because of how long I've known them. Teach me that my hesitation is not weak faith, but a gift you gave me on purpose. Remind me that protecting my spirit and trusting you were never opposites, and that real safety in prayer should never require silencing what I quietly already sense. In Jesus' name, amen. There's one more layer to this we haven't touched yet. Discerning leaders, not just individuals, and we'll get into that next time. If even one of these 5 people came to mind while watching this, you're exactly who this video was made for. Subscribe for more honest Christian wisdom on discernment, prayer, and protecting your spirit, and comment below which one you've experienced firsthand. See you in the next video.